Thank you, Convener, and good morning, Conference. I visited a secondary school in my constituency earlier this week for a Q&A session with S1 Modern Studies pupils. One of the young people asked me about hate crime, and we were talking about the rise in far-right rhetoric. It struck me that these bright, articulate young people were toddlers when the EU referendum bill was laid, and were not yet born when Theresa May introduced her suite of hostile environment policies. They've grown up in a world where immigration has sadly become weaponised, largely based on factual inaccuracies and dangerous misinformation. These pupils are learning about politics in a time where opposition parties are shamefully trying to outdo one another with grotesque far right-wing rhetoric, blaming immigration for their failures rather than looking at their own damaging policies like austerity and Brexit. Successive UK governments' outdated and hostile immigration policies have been severely detrimental to Scotland and our public services, and the new UK Labour government simply refuses to accept, let alone take any action on the need for immigration policies tailored to Scotland's needs. Scotland has significant population challenges, and we're quickly approaching the point where we will have too few working age people available to support our ever-increasing older population. Scotland's future depends on people, and we need people to staff our NHS and care services. Conference, we know that our NHS has been facing pressures over recent years due to the effects of COVID, but our SNP government are determined to tackle these challenges. And under John Swinney's leadership, we're delivering record levels of funding to our NHS, and through this, waiting times are coming down. And our SNP government has delivered 13 consecutive years of workforce growth. Since September 2006, we've seen almost a 60% increase in medical staff and almost a 20% rise in nursing and midwifery staff. And Conference, I'm proud that Scotland's NHS workforce continues to be the best paid in the UK. Now, I continue to work as an NHS nurse in Greater Glasgow and Clyde, so I know and appreciate that our Scottish Government is continually exploring what more can be done to support the staff and to recruit others, working in partnership with trade unions to ensure careers in health and social care remain attractive. But the fact remains that due to our distinct demographic and economic requirements, Scotland needs talented and committed people from across the world to live, work and build their lives here. Our efforts to improve the NHS are being undermined by Labour's plans to copy Farage's playbook on immigration, and they are hammering our health and social care sector. Over 66% of members of Scottish Care surveyed said that they are actively recruiting from overseas, and that a quarter of care workers in rural and island communities are from outside the EU. We have an ageing population, an ageing workforce, and increasing demands on services. And the work of care is hard. It's emotionally and physically draining. It's a vocation that requires not only great skill, but a certain type of person. This is not a story about plugging gaps. It's a story of contributing skills, aptitude, and abilities. And let's be clear, Conference, workers who have come to Scotland and chosen to live here are not simply statistics. They're skilled, compassionate professionals who are making an invaluable contribution to our health and care services. Migrants are our NHS staff, our carers, our neighbours, our family. They deserve dignity, security, respect and stability. Conference, this is a crisis point. There's been an 81% drop in health and care worker visas in a year. Meanwhile, the UK Labour government is so desperate to stem the decline of their tumbling polls that they're looking over reform's shoulder to copy their homework, focusing on numbers and headlines rather than the needs of our NHS, the social care sector and Scotland as a whole. But don't take my word for it. Professor Nicola Ranger, General Secretary of the RCN, said that services would cease to function without migrant nursing staff, and adding that while other countries offer immediate paths to settlement for nurses, the UK is going in the opposite direction. Scottish Care CEO Dr Donald McCaskill has said that the UK Government's direction of travel on immigration continues to reflect a hostile and dehumanising culture that fundamentally contradicts the values of compassion and care that underpin our sector. Let's be clear, friends, the UK Government must end Westminster's ban on health and care workers bringing their families to the UK and devolve the powers of immigration to Scotland. But ultimately, Conference, with independence, Scotland can get out of Westminster's race to the bottom for good, and I urge you to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. And it's not only Claire Hockey that continues to work as a nurse. Our next speaker, Emma Harper, MSP, also is still a nurse. And Emma is going to second Resolution 4. Welcome, Emma, and 3 minutes max.
Thank you, Convener. Hey, good afternoon. I think it is almost afternoon conference. I absolutely endorse what my friend, my colleague and my fellow nurse Claire Hockey has just proposed in this resolution and in her speech to conference. Scotland's health and social care services are under immense pressure, and Westminster's outdated and hostile immigration policies are making that pressure unbearable. We all know someone, our families, our friends, our neighbours, that has been cared for by someone from out with Scotland. We've seen an 81% drop in health and care worker visa applications in just 1 year. And that's not just a bureaucratic shift, that's a direct threat to the well-being of our communities. It means fewer carers, longer waiting times and exhausted staff stretched beyond their limits. Conference, a recent survey by Scottish Care tells us that the international workers make up 32% of Scotland's workforce in care organisations, a third. In some cases, they represent over 90% of the staff. These are people, dedicated professionals who come here from many other countries to care for our loved ones, often working in remote and rural areas like my home in Dumfries and Galloway, and recruitment is really difficult in these remote and rural areas already. And yet the previous UK Tory government has responded by banning these workers from bringing their families. Imagine being told that you're welcome to care for others, but not to live with your own children. That's not just cruel, it's completely counterproductive. Conference, this is the fallout from Brexit. Scotland voted to remain, but we were dragged out of Europe against our will. And now both the Tories and Labour, because you can't tell them apart, the Tories and Labour support the consequences: a shrinking workforce, a broken care system and a hostile environment for those who want to help. So today, I call on the UK to do what they do best. UK Labour, do a U-turn. Of course, that is what they do best. Do a U-turn and end the ban on health and care workers bringing their families. Devolve immigration powers to Scotland. Devolve the powers immediately so that we can build a system that reflects our values and meets our needs. Because we know what kind of country we want to be. We want to be a country that welcomes people, a country that values care, a country that sees migration and immigration not as a threat, but as a strength. Let's fight for that, Scotland. Let's demand the powers to make it real. And if they don't want to devolve immigration powers to Scotland, then let us get on with it and with delivering independence. Thank you.